Hello, amazing person. Welcome to season 2 of Dear Catalyst Coach podcast. I'm your host, Rebecca Cooley. My specialty is helping leaders like you go rogue. Each week, I offer a reading and unpack my blog posts, sharing additional stories from my life, including how I went rogue. Rebecca's Gone Rogue is one of my favorite ways of being described by one of my previous employers. I'm very proud of my legacy. Plus, I go deep on all things introversion, leadership, career shifts, stress reduction. I'll be answering questions like, how do I overcome imposter syndrome? How do I reduce public speaking anxiety? How do I reduce my negative self-talk? So tune in each week and let's go rogue together. Get inspired to take action, to go rogue in your life, to start an inner revolution, and to be a catalyst in your own life. Wishing you lots of peace, joy, and freedom. Hello, wonderful person. Welcome to this week's episode. Today we're going to shake things up a little bit, and I'll be responding to 3 letters I received from my coaching partners. So the first letter is from a parent who strongly desires to make friends, but is experiencing shyness and concern about being judged. Her letter is short, but pretty straightforward. I struggle with making friends. Please help. Struggling. Dear struggling, making friends is difficult for a lot of people. So first know that you're not alone in this. I remember as a child moving from one school to another, 13 in total from pre-K to 12th grade. Being the new girl was always hard for me, and people had already established their friend groups. And on top of being the new girl, I was shy, self-conscious, socially anxious, and did not do small talk even as a child. There were times it was easier than others to make friends, and this seemed to be true also as an adult. Sometimes it had to do with my perception of myself, my internal dialogue about whether I was likable or concerned about being judged for my ideas or contributions to the conversation. Much of this internal experience kept me quiet and withdrawn in some circles. Sometimes when it's not easy to make friends, it had nothing to do with my inner experience, but rather the group members. Sometimes it was just that it wasn't a best fit of values, personalities, common interests. So in other circles, things did seem to click. I remember there were groups that I became part of that we just had more similarities, and there seemed to be a sense of immediate acceptance. And it was clear that I was liked, and I knew I liked them. So friendships are like that sometimes, a special experience where things just seem to click into place, but it doesn't always click right away either. Sometimes it takes time to build trust and common experiences before things seem to develop into a solid friendship. At least that was my experience. So answer your question, how did we get there? For me, working on my internal dialogue, my perceptions about myself and others, identifying my communication barriers, being honest with myself about how I came across in conversations, understanding how my internal feelings about myself and others impacted how others experienced me, and then also how those internal feelings that I had inside could sometimes impede me getting to know others and letting them get to know me. So all of that was a huge part of my making friends more easily, just really investigating and becoming a radical student of self. I had to get real with myself and I had to do my inner work. When I tried to move forward with making friends prior to this inner work, the friendships were usually based on need and my beliefs that were like, I need to make friends because I'm lonely, or I need this person to like me, or I need to feel likable. I need more friends. I need to say and do the right thing so this person will continue to like me. It doesn't matter who they are as long as they like me. And so all of those thoughts were bubbling around within me. And I had to get very, very clear with myself about those motivations. They were very externally driven, um, and surround and relating to people needing to like me and being and doing whatever was necessary for them to like me. So now, having worked through a lot of that internal experience and internal dialogue, there's a lot more to my selection process and my friendships. I now know what I like in a friend, and I know what I have to offer as a friend, and I know that I'm an excellent friend. I don't think I knew that before. I know when I meet someone for the first time whether I would like to invest time in that person to get to know them and let them get to know me as a friend. I usually base the decision to develop a friendship with someone on something they say in a group setting, for example, a class that I'm taking. If it resonates with me, I might approach them and let them know. I'll ask them if they want to go out for coffee or tea or lunch sometimes, so I usually gauge if they feel the same. Being intuitive and having high intuition does help, but there are signals for non-intuitive types to see if someone is receptive or feels the same way when being asked for coffee. And a lot of that I train on in my interpersonal communication coaching. And then at that point, numbers are exchanged if it's a yes, and of course, I need to follow through. So that's been, you can get somebody's number to go out for coffee. You can make that initial gesture, but unless you follow through, it makes no difference. So follow through has been really important for me. I think one of the biggest things that has helped me to approach people and make friends is knowing that anyone can reject me for any reason, and it's not personal. Just as I can also reject anyone for any reason, and it's not personal. So I don't tend to use the word reject a lot. The word seems a little charged in our culture. So the word that resonates for me is choose and choice. So choice in friendships is paramount. It is all friendships and relationships should be mutually beneficial. For instance, thinking I have as much to offer as they do to me. And also, if it doesn't work out, it's okay. I feel solid in myself. If these friendships don't work out or, it doesn't blossom into anything more than just coffee, the inner work has come back to that feeling of feeling very strongly grounded within myself. And so when the next potential friend comes my way, I'll give it another try rather than getting deflated or disenchanted with the process of making friends. If I have one experience or multiple experiences where it didn't work out or nothing blossomed from it, not letting myself get dissuaded or discouraged. It's really important. So I hope this helps. Continue to do your inner work. Continue to reach out to people who resonate with you, your values, or spark something in you. And even if it's just to tell them, hey, something you said and did really meant something to me, you never know where that share will lead. But also release the expectations that reaching out needs to lead into friendship and just let go of the results as much as possible. So it can just be a pressure-free, see what happens, experiment, and experience. Hope that helps. So the second letter is from a manager who is interested in improving her conversational and social skills, as well as her networking skills, but she's having trouble speaking up. This is what she wrote. Dear Catalyst Coach, in a group conversation, I find it challenging to identify the gap in the conversation to add my thoughts. I want to become a part of the group conversation, but instead I wait until everyone finishes talking. By that time, it is too late and I remain a silent watcher. Do you have any techniques that can help me with getting into a group conversation? Things that I can practice. Ready to speak up. Dear Ready to Speak Up. So first of all, thank you for your question. The hesitation to enter a group conversation can be intrinsic as well as skill related. So we're going to break down what that means. The best approach is called the inside out. I'm going to share a few self-reflective exercises that you can do on your own, as well as some skill related steps to practice with others. So to do with yourself, this is kind of that inside approach to the inside out approach, the inside first. I'm going to say identify if there's anything intrinsic. Intrinsic meaning thoughts, emotions, beliefs that are contributing to your experience of finding it challenging to find the gap in group conversations to speak up and become a part of the conversation. So, for example, asking yourself these questions. What thoughts, emotions, beliefs are occurring during my silence? What thoughts, emotions, beliefs are occurring during my hesitation to enter the conversation? For example, thoughts, emotions, beliefs could relate to fear, fear of being judged, fear of saying the wrong thing. So again, thinking through an example, fear of saying the wrong thing. Do you experience a worry that you'll be judged for what you say? Does everyone seem so much wittier, smarter, connected than you? So it's important to really realize what thoughts, emotions, and intrinsic experiences you're having and that you bring into the conversation. So this is called your baggage. So know your baggage. Know your baggage as you're entering the conversation, because a lot of that baggage relating to your internal experience, thoughts, emotions, belief, is really a huge part of the inside part of what could be impeding your ability to enter in a free flow way into those conversations. So asking yourself questions like, what do I need and want from this conversation? Usually there is some underlying needs and wants. But most of us don't go around thinking about what do I need and want from this interaction or this relationship or this conversation. When we don't look closely and deeply at what we're needing and wanting from conversations, what's happening is our verbal and nonverbal cues, how we're interacting with people, maybe even grasping, clingy neediness is coming across. Maybe even withdrawal or hesitation. All of those things can really relate to what you're needing and wanting unconsciously. So we need to bring intention and consciousness to what our needs and wants in our interactions with people because it's coming across anyway, and people are responding to those unconscious wants and needs that we're bringing to the conversation, our baggage that we're bringing to the conversation. They're responding to it anyway, so it's going to be very important if we're wanting to make changes in our relationships and interactions and communication that we understand our needs and wants from people. So why is it important to me to be part of the conversation? Asking yourself, why is it important for me to speak up? Um, what am I getting out of speaking up? When was it not safe to speak up in my life, in my past? When was I judged previously or ridiculed for speaking or speaking up? What am I getting out of remaining a silent watcher? And so this is important to say, I'm not getting anything out of being a silent watcher. I want to be included in the conversation. I want to speak up. And of course, a lot of my folks that come to me, they do want that. They want to speak up, but they end up being the silent watcher. So looking closely and again, understanding yourself. What are you getting out of being silent? There is always going to be an answer here, so do your best not to answer nothing. So there's always a reason behind our behavior, and to really go forward through your life with that that idea that there's always a reason behind the behavior. Don't just stop with I'm just doing this for no reason. I don't understand the reason. You may not understand it, but if you investigate and inquire more, begin to understand what you're getting out of even the behaviors that are seen as unwanted behaviors that you're participating in. So what are you getting out of remaining a silent watcher? Ask yourself, what do I need from others in these interactions? Some examples could be a sense of belonging, a sense of acceptance, respect, connection, friendship, resources. It could be even maybe what I'm needing from this interaction is to feel secure in my job, if it's a networking situation. We've talked about this before, but continue to distinguish between your feelings and perceptions and facts. So ask yourself, do I feel and perceive the group and individuals in the group are friendly and safe or unfriendly and unsafe? Determine whether the group and the individual in the group are in fact friendly and safe. For instance, have you had any experience with the group or individuals in the group that indicate that they are not friendly or they are judgmental? Because that's a real thing. Absolutely. Or are the individuals in the group your friends? Is the group friendly? So just beginning to distinguish what is feeling or perception versus fact. And once you work through this process based on what you've determined, make an informed decision. Decide what you are willing to share, what you want to share in the group, when you speak up, what do you want to share? And the purpose for your sharing. Is it just to speak? Is it just to talk? Is it to connect? Is it to inform? And, looking at what else is about, what else are you interested in about that conversation? Is it to maintain relationships? Is it to deepen the relationship? Is it to speak your truth, let people get to know you, build friendships, um, maintain harmony in the or in the relationship? And then think about giving yourself what you need also. And I'm going to encourage you to give yourself what you need first. Check all of your baggage at the door so that no one in the conversation is needing to supply this for you. So again, as you take a deep look at what is my baggage as I come into these interactions and come into these conversations and maybe even relationships, what is the baggage? Realizing what the baggage is, what your own baggage is, and doing your best to leave that at the door so that when you're in these conversations with others, it's not being informed by all of your needs and wants. And what you need and want from other people, and getting that supply from others and rather instead supplying it for yourself. If you're needing a sense of belonging, supply belonging to yourself. If you're needing a sense of respect, supply respect to yourself. If you're needing a sense of close connection, connect deeply with yourself. If you're needing a sense of safety and security from others, and that's what you're needing from the interaction, supply that to yourself first. Inside of what to do from that inside out approach. And the inside, again, has to do with yourself and what to do within yourself. And now we're going to talk about the out. So the out side of that approach, what you do with others. So I'm going to break this out into different skills. So for instance, one skill, and the first skill would probably be to speak from your heart, your truth with friends. So if the people that you're connecting with are your friends and it's already established that it's a judgment-free zone and you've determined that the purpose of you speaking is to deepen your relationship, speak your truth, let people get to know you better, then in the moment, give others the gift of getting to know you. In the moment, give yourself the gift of self-compassion. Mindfully recognize that internal mental activity that says you're doing it all wrong and and noticing that it may be scary to speak and be vulnerable. Just notice those things. Mindfully notice, recognize, be aware, and then ultimately be tender with yourself. Connect deeply with that part of you who's frightened of speaking up. So again, these are skill related to dealing with people, dealing with others. So this is the outside part of the inside out approach. So another skill 2 would be speak from your heart and speak your truth with non-friends. So people that have not been established in your friend circle. If the people you're connecting with are not necessarily friendly, and you've identified factually that this group or individuals in this group are truly judgmental, so through observable, factual, evidentiary experience with them, and you've determined that the purpose of you speaking is to maintain your relationships or speak your truth, then in the moment, be brave and share what feels safe to share with this group and with the individuals in this group. So no one gets to decide but you what you're willing to share with such a group. And you have permission to remain silent and just observe if you have determined that it is in your best interest to just remain silent. You can decide what's right for you in any moment and with any group, in any conversation with any person. So whatever you choose, own it completely, silence or speaking. It is okay to remain silent. It is okay to remain silent. We have this pervasive idea in our culture, predominantly extroverted culture, that we have to speak and we have to engage. And if we don't, we're going to be seen a certain way. And this could impact our ability to get promoted and all of these other things, which are potentially true. We can't deny that, especially in an extroverted society, potentially. So, but at the same time, no one can decide for you whether or not you want to remain silent or speak. And so now that you've investigated the different reasons for speaking up and not remaining silent or remaining silent, what do you need from those conversations and interactions? And you've worked through that inner landscape of what's really guiding your true need to speak up. You get to choose. You get to decide. No one else gets to decide that for you. So there's no reason to be vulnerable with individuals who have a factual history of being judgmental and unfriendly. No reason at all that you need to be vulnerable with such people. Always honor yourself in all interactions. This is especially for my introvert folks. And in the moment, when you're having those conversations and you're speaking up or not speaking up, always give yourself self-compassion. Mindfully recognize that internal mental activity that may be saying to yourself, you may be saying to yourself, I should speak and share. Even if you've determined that the group of individuals are not friendly, you still may be having that pervasive thought, I should speak, I should share. And just check it. Just notice what's driving that, what internal emotion, belief, or thought is driving that need to speak and share with people who have demonstrated that they're not friendly and that they are judgmental. So just notice. Probably it's pointing to fear or anxiety, fear of loss of something, or fear of the discomfort of what you're going might experience later when there may be some beating self up for not speaking up. Just notice. Just notice and be tender with yourself. Connect deeply with that part of you who is also judging yourself for being silent. Another skill here is trust yourself. Trust yourself, trust the group, trust your voice, trust your message. So you have something important to say. And what you have to say contributes to the conversation. Just remember that. When it is time and you have decided to speak up, just know that you have something important to say because we often think, I don't have anything important to say. Who's going to listen to me? But you do. You do have something important to say. And what you say contributes to the conversation. Trust yourself that you can pick up on external cues from others to know when it's a good time to contribute to the conversation. Trust that everyone in the group and individuals are happy and excited to hear your thoughts and what you have to say. Trust your voice and your message, and trust that you've paid attention to the conversation. So really step into that trust of yourself. Another skill here is maintain mindful awareness of the conversation and others. I'm going to give you some principles of mindful communication and just talk briefly about these. So there are principles of mindful communication. The first one is pay attention on purpose. This includes paying attention to what's going on for you internally, as well as your reactions to others, and paying attention to others in the conversation. So we've talked about this. Number two is taking mindful pauses. Stay connected with yourself and pause often when you notice any internal stories you're telling yourself about the communication or evaluating yourself or how others might be evaluating you. The principle number three is listening deeply. Listen with ease in a relaxed manner. Don't anticipate what you're going to say or be driven by your need to speak or any of the intrinsic drivers, thoughts, emotions, beliefs that are driving your speaking. Settle into the flow of the conversation. Sometimes speaking is not necessary. Listening is also a way to connect. Principle four is about practicing mindful noticing. Regularly check in with yourself to determine if you're judging yourself, judging others, or comparing yourself to others. This happens a lot. Notice this mental activity and identifying it as a distraction will help you with staying with the flow of the conversation, which is very important. Principle five is be compassionate towards your discomfort. Be gentle and compassionate with yourself if you feel uncomfortable during any part of the conversation. There may be aspects of yourself in your communication that you don't like. Be kind to those parts of yourself. 6, own your internal experience. Completely own your internal experience, your baggage, your stories, your reactions, your perceptions, your emotions throughout the entire conversation. 7, give yourself and others a break for just being human. Remember that everyone comes to the conversation with their own baggage, and most people are unaware and ignorant about their own baggage. People will say and do things that may be personal, that may feel personal, unsafe, unkind, judgmental, but it is often not personal. Sometimes they just mess up. Do your best to not take things personally. Give yourself a break when you say or do something yourself that others may perceive as personal. Give people the benefit of the doubt and give yourself grace too. It helps, all of this really helps with just this ease and this flow of conversation when we just realize that we're just human and we're going to say silly, awkward things. It happens all the time to me. 8, speak your truth. Let others see and get to know you. When you're brave and let others get to know you, you can inspire others to also be brave. Is allowing others to get to know the real you. That means the silly you, the playful you, the you without the mask. So continue to create those genuine, authentic connections. Trust your inner voice. Connect with your inner voice, the part of you that knows exactly what it wants to say, and connect with that part of yourself often. And the 9th principle for mindful communication is speaking with compassion. Listen to your heart and tap into what feels genuine and compassionate in any given moment throughout the conversation, and speak those heartfelt words. So ultimately, friend, remember the authentic, genuine connection is not a sequence of saying the right words or doing the right thing at the right moment. That focus tends to be fueled by anxiety and a hypervigilant stress response based on not feeling safe. Rather, authentic connection is about a deeper interconnection with yourself first, and then from that place of interconnection and safety, you can have cultivated within yourself, then there's a deep desire to connect with others heart to heart. Beyond the masks, beyond judgment, beyond baggage, beyond fear, from one heart to another, from one friend to another. And just remember your voice is valuable, what you have to say is important. Know it first within yourself and take that knowledge to all your interactions. Okay, let's go on to the third letter. This third letter is from a coaching partner who struggles with feeling disconnected from others in general and also from the people in his life. He feels a pervasive loneliness even in the presence of others. So he shares, Coach, how do I make authentic connections with others? What tips do you have for me so that I can feel truly connected with other people? Seeking connection. Dear Seeking Connection, as you know, we're all born to connect. Whether that connection is with family members, friends, coworkers, people we just met, interviewers, or audience members, our need to connect is inborn and a necessary part of our joy and peace. Feeling isolated and disconnected from others is a very real reason why so many of us feel depressed and anxious. And without that anchor of feeling connected, we can feel alone. And this loneliness is the basis for so much suffering, especially when it's coupled with feelings of guilt and shame. When guilt and shame sink in, we begin to develop mechanisms that exacerbate our feelings of disconnection and further our isolation. So we begin to feel the need to wear a mask around others to hide our feelings of shame about ourselves. We begin to become defensive, hardened, callous as a way to protect the suffering part of us that yearns to connect but has lost trust in humanity and feels as though we need to protect ourselves from pain. So we come to show the world a self that is not our true self, and we come to show the world a persona, a face that we think it wants to see. At home and in the comfort of our own company, we put down the mask and breathe a sigh of relief because we're feeling safe and at ease within the walls of our home or among the people that we feel the most comfortable with. Some of us do not even have this refuge, and the mask is worn at all times, even with those we live with, perhaps even with our own selves. So how do we face the fears, remove the masks, and connect more deeply and authentically with others? It's very similar to a lot of what we've been sharing throughout this entire journey together, but it always starts with that step of understanding yourself. So becoming that student of yourself that we've talked about time and again, really truly understanding and facing your thoughts, emotions, beliefs. Um, Without that, making changes in yourself and changes in your relationships is so difficult. So definitely a crucial part of that journey. And it starts with you being aware of your beliefs that you hold about yourself. We are so often unaware of how many thoughts we regularly tell ourselves that reinforce a negative self-image and also interfere with our ability to connect deeply, authentically with others. So thoughts arise in the moment and often manifest in these deep-seated beliefs. A belief is just so you know, a belief is a set idea you have that your mind has decided is truth or factual. Examples of beliefs can be, I am not enough, I'm not good enough, no one likes me, I always do it wrong. So these are usually ridden with guilt and shame and are rooted usually in old conditioning and programming from our childhood. And they become beliefs through repetition. It usually begins with someone repeatedly giving us this message externally, and later we begin to repeat the message to ourselves. This is usually associated with negative self-talk or that inner critic. So important here for an action is just to name the beliefs. Name your beliefs and recognize them as only beliefs and that they are not the truth about you. I know that's easier said than done, and especially if it's a brand new process for you of looking at beliefs mindfully. But beliefs are only beliefs and not necessarily the truth about you. So be aware of the beliefs you hold about others also. It's not just the beliefs that you hold about yourself. If you're like so many of us, you've been hurt by someone or by a group of people, the walls around your heart may have gone up to shield you, to protect your heart. You have, you may have found some mechanisms to protect yourself from individuals or groups because of past pains. This is normal. If this is the case, that people just know that people in situations that resemble the past pain may be interfering with your ability to be yourself, to relax, to be open and expansive, and to let your guard down. So even if they resemble the people or the situations from the past, it may be enough, even if they're not the exact people that hurt you, if they even resemble them, it may be enough to put your walls up. So you may have developed feelings and beliefs around others, fears of them hurting you, fear of them judging you, and this is all absolutely understandable. Just the main idea here is what can we do about it? So it's just important to distinguish and decipher between what is true and what is perception. We've talked about this before. Decipher whether a situation or person is truly intending to hurt you or judge you, or whether you perceive they are. If it is in fact a perception, identify it, identify if it's based in a past experience, for instance, if it was triggered from the past. And something to do with this, no, just an action step. Notice what beliefs you hold about others. Decipher if the beliefs are based in truth or perception. If they are perceptions, recognize them as only perceptions. Identify if your feelings about others are tied to the past or the present. And if always be gentle with yourself and others through this process. Be aware of your emotions also. So you're aware of your beliefs and also be aware of your emotions. Notice how you feel when you're with yourself. And also notice how you feel when you're connecting with others. We are continuously feeling emotions throughout our day, and getting in tune with your emotions and where they reside in your body is a wonderful mindfulness tool to help you be present with yourself, learn more about yourself. So the more you know about yourself, the more you connect with yourself, the more you're able to connect with others. So identify your emotions, sit with and embrace your emotions, name them. You know, they have those little nifty emotions chart. I know they're completely cheesy, but they can be helpful if naming your emotions is challenging for you. Ultimately, cultivate compassion for yourself and others. This journey of learning more about yourself, this journey of self-awareness and personal understanding, you begin to move to this next step of cultivating compassion for yourself. So self-compassion is a deep and gentle acceptance of yourself and where you are at this moment. That just basically means that you take everything about yourself and hold it lovingly and tenderly, even the parts that you fear, even the parts that you don't like, even the parts that are difficult. As you become better at sitting with and holding space for these aspects of you, you release that judging, evaluatory, assessing attitude towards yourself, and you begin to make peace with yourself. So from this place of peace with yourself, you begin to make peace with others. So any attitudes of judgment towards others can melt away with a solid foundation of self-compassion, because you're feeling compassion towards others as well as you've developed your own compassion towards yourself. So when you feel less judgmental towards others, the concept of me versus them begins to melt away also. And you can come to relax, and the need for the walls and the barriers and the masks is much less needed. There's no need to be on guard at all times because you have compassion for others and they no longer feel unsafe. So this may be a big stretch for some of us. Continue to work through this, and with this, it's been a huge part of my journey is feeling safe with others and offering compassion, but also developing that compassion within myself. Your newfound feeling of safety is from a deep connection with yourself and the friend that you've made with yourself. You feel compassionate and peaceful within, and that transfers to your feeling of compassion and peace with others, and safety with yourself and safety with others. So in time and with practice, the need to protect gives way to the need to connect deeply and truly, not only with peers, family, and friends, but in all of our interactions. So begin to cultivate the courage to be authentic in our lives, in our workplaces, and we begin to live in a compassionate way, in an accepting way, focusing on what we have in common with others rather than what creates our differences. We begin to heal and repair the conditioned messages by being our own best friend, and that love and gentleness form a strength within that resonates with others. People will begin to gravitate towards that, and you'll want to share that outwards. We begin to form bonds with others from a shared desire to lower the masks and connect heart to heart, connect genuinely, connect authentically. It is possible, and it's my wish for you. So it is my deepest hope that you have found comfort and insight from these letters and shares. Wish for you today and always is to stay deeply connected with yourself and observe how that connection plays out in your relationships. Wishing you much joy and freedom. Talk soon. You've been listening to Dear Catalyst Coach with me, your host, Rebecca Cooley. Thanks for being here. Tune in weekly on Tuesdays for new episodes. Remember to subscribe so you can be the first to know when new episodes are released. A little bit more about me. I've been helping leaders in Fortune 100 and Fortune 500 companies achieve their career and communication goals for over 15 years, helping them to create catalytic and lasting change for themselves, their employees, their organizations, and their families. Overcoming hurdles of limiting mindsets, anxiety, lack of confidence, fear, and more. I was named top 16 coaches in Raleigh. I graduated with honors with an MPA concentrating in strategic leadership. I hold a BA with a concentration in speech communication, graduating magna cum laude. I am a certified master coach and a certified meditation instructor with over 1,500 hours of stress reduction training. So you're ready for a partner to join you during this revolutionary time in your life? You can reach me at www.catalystactioncoaching.com. I offer private executive coaching and corporate training for teams globally. I'm excited to connect with you, wishing you lots of peace, joy, and freedom.